Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today by asking you to visualize a very specific feeling.
Okay.
It's a feeling I think everyone listening has experienced, probably this week, maybe even this morning.
I'm already nervous.
It's that moment you're staring at a blinking cursor or a blank whiteboard, or maybe you're about to walk into a meeting to pitch a new idea that you're not, 100% sure about.
The void.
Exactly, the void. And in that moment, there is this overwhelming, crushing sensation that you are completely unqualified,
Right.
that you have no idea what you're doing, and that you are, any second now, about to be found out. It's that tightness in your chest where you think, who gave me permission to do this?
It's the universal hum of creative work. It really is. It's the background noise of our lives. And usually when we feel that, we assume something has gone wrong.
Yes.
We think if I were really good at this, if I were a real professional, I wouldn't feel this way.
Right. We wait for the lightning bolt. We're told to wait for it. We wait for the muse to come down and touch us on the shoulder and whisper the perfect line of code or the perfect sentence. We want the magic.
We crave the magic.
But today, we are diving into a book that basically says, that lightning bolt, it's not coming. And that feeling of terror, that's not a bug, that's a feature.
We are covering The Practice, Shipping Creative Work by Seth Godin. And you're right, he starts with a bit of a slap in the face to all our romantic ideas about art. He says, the magic of the creative process is that there is no magic.
Which is both liberating and absolutely terrifying. Because there's no magic. What is there? Just us.
Just us and the choice to do the work. Godin's central thesis here is that we have fundamentally misunderstood what creativity even is.
How so?
Well, we tend to think of it as a genetic trait. You're either born with the artist gene or you aren't.
Yeah, you look at Picasso or Steve Jobs and think they're like a different species.
Exactly, but Godin argues that creativity is simply an action. It is the act of doing something generous that might not work.
I love that definition. Doing something that might not work. It sounds so simple, but it flies in the face of everything we are taught from the time we are 5 years old.
Everything.
It challenges the very structure of how we build our careers, how we run our businesses.
It does, and that's why this book is so important. It's not just for painters or novelists. This is for the manager trying to solve a personnel issue where there's no clear policy.
Or the coder trying to fix a bug that's never been seen before.
The parent trying to figure out how to get their teenager to talk to them. Godin defines art as the human act of doing something new to change someone else.
So the stakes are high. This isn't just about hobbies. This is about how we show up in the world, how we contribute.
It's about leadership, really.
And to get into it, we have to start with the foundational philosophy of the book. Godin sets up this cage match between two opposing worldviews, the industrial mindset and the creative mindset.
This distinction is everything. If you don't get this, the rest of the book just won't land.
Okay, so let's drill down on that. The industrial mindset. This is the factory floor, right?
Yeah.
But it's more than just assembly lines.
It is the factory floor, but it's also the classroom. It's the office cubicle.
Yeah.
The industrial mindset is built on two things, really. Scarcity and compliance.
Scarcity and compliance. Okay.
It's Henry Ford perfecting the Model T. If you are building a Toyota Corolla, you do not want creativity. You do not want a worker on the line deciding, you know what, I'm going to try attaching the wheels with glue today just to see what happens.
Right. You want the manual. You want Six Sigma perfection. You want identical outcomes every single time. Will this work? Is the only question that matters.
It's the only question that's allowed. The industrial deal, the bargain we all unknowingly signed up for is this. You follow the instructions, you suppress your impulses, you do exactly what you were told.
You comply.
You comply. And in exchange, you get a guaranteed outcome. You get a paycheck. You get an A on the test. You get the car. It is a transaction based on certainty.
And that works wonders for manufacturing. It's why we have cheap TVs and reliable brakes and smartphones that basically always work.
Absolutely. The system is brilliant for what it was designed for.
But the problem Godin identifies, and I think this is the core friction of the book, is that we have taken that Toyota Corolla mindset and applied it to things that aren't factories.
Precisely. We try to apply the guaranteed outcome mindset to writing a novel or launching a startup or leading a team through a crisis. We ask, can you guarantee this will be a hit before I start writing?
Can you guarantee the strategy will work before we implement it?
And the answer in the creative world is always no. It has to be no.
And because the answer is no, we freeze. We revert to the industrial setting. We look for a map. But Godin says the creative mindset is the realization that there is no map.
Yeah. In the creative mindset, you aren't asking, will this work? because you can't know. You are asking, is this worth doing?
That shift is heavy. Is this worth doing, even if it fails?
That's the price of admission. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
If you require a guarantee, you are a factory worker. And there is nothing wrong with factory work, but it's not leadership. It's not change-making.
But if you are willing to ship without a guarantee,
Then you are an artist. You are a leader. You are making a ruckus.
he has this definition of the practice that really stuck with me. He says, the practice is not the means to the output. The practice is the output. That broke my brain a little bit.
It's a bit of a Zen Connie, isn't it?
It is. I'm so used to thinking, I do the work to get the prize. I write the report to get the promotion. I record this deep dive to get the listeners.
That's the trap of being outcome-focused. And look, we all want good outcomes. Seth isn't saying we don't want the work to succeed. He's not saying we want to write bad books or build broken apps.
Of course not.
But he's saying that the only thing we actually control is the practice itself, the act of sitting down and doing the work. We don't control how the audience reacts. We don't control the algorithm. We don't control the critics.
And we spend so much energy trying to...
Wasted energy.
There's a quote in the book from the sculptor Elizabeth King that I underlined 3 times. She said, process saves us from the poverty of our intentions.
It's a beautiful, dense line. Let's unpack it.
The poverty of our intentions. That sounds harsh. Like, aren't my intentions good? I want to do a good job.
Are they, though? I mean, let's be honest. Think about what our intentions usually are when we sit down to work. Often they're a bit selfish.
Okay, fair enough.
We want to be famous. We want to be rich. We want everyone to like us. We want validation. Or maybe we just want to get it over with so we can go watch Netflix.
The last one is definitely true sometimes.
Right. And Godin would say those are poor intentions because they are fragile. They are dependent on things outside of our control.
Ah, I see. If my intention is I want to get 1 million likes and I post my work and get 10 likes, my intention collapses.
It shatters.
And then I stop working.
Exactly. If the goal is just the applause, silence is devastating. It feels like failure. But if you are committed to the process, if you say, I'm a writer, so I write today, or I am a coder, so I ship code today, that process saves you.
It's the thing you can hold on to.
It keeps you working even when the external validation isn't there. The practice is the boat that keeps you afloat, regardless of the weather.
Speaking of weather, he uses that analogy too, right?
He does. He says we spend so much time worrying about the outcome, which is like worrying about the weather. You can't control the weather.
No.
You can scream at the clouds, you can pray for sun, you can check the forecast every 5 minutes, but it's going to do what it's going to do.
And we burn so much emotional energy trying to control the uncontrollable.
So much. Resilience isn't about controlling the weather, it's about accepting it. The practice is building the boat. You build the boat regardless of the forecast. You show up and do the work regardless of whether the market is up or down, or whether your boss is in a good mood.
I think this connects to his idea about reassurance. I catch myself doing this all the time. I'll be working on something and I'll ask my partner or a colleague, is this good? Do you think this will work?
We all do it.
I want someone to tell me, don't worry, this project is going to be a huge hit. I want that pat on the back before I've even finished the work.
And Godin says reassurance is futile.
Futile. That's a strong word. It feels so good to get it.
It is, but it's true. Because think about it. If I tell you, don't worry, it's going to be great, does that actually make the work better?
No.
And does it make you stop worrying forever?
No, I'll need it again in an hour.
Right. You'll feel better for 5 minutes, it's a dopamine hit, and then the doubt creeps back in and you need another hit of reassurance. It's an addiction.
It creates a dependency loop. I can't work unless someone tells me it's okay.
Exactly. It creates a cycle where you can't work unless someone is validating you. And since creative work, real creative work, is about doing something that might fail, no one can honestly reassure you.
So you're saying if I'm doing something truly new,
then no one knows if it's going to work. So asking for a guarantee is actually asking to be lied to.
oof, that's a tough pill to swallow.
It is.
He uses the analogy of the locksmith to explain how we should view failure in the process. I found this really helpful because it takes the emotion out of it.
Yes, the locksmith.
Yeah.
So visualize this. You're locked out of your house. You call a locksmith. He shows up with his van and a ring of master keys or picks. He walks up to the door. He tries tool number 1. It doesn't turn.
Right.
Now, does the locksmith fall to his knees and cry? Does he look up at the sky and say, I am a failure. I am an imposter. I have no business being a locksmith?
No, That would be absurd. He just grabs the next tool.
Exactly. To him, the key not working is just data. It's information. Okay, not that one. Maybe the pins are set differently. He stays neutral. He focuses on the process of finding the solution.
So we need to treat our work like that.
Godin argues we need to treat our creative work like that. A bug in your code, a bad draft of a chapter, a sketch that looks terrible. That's not a moral failing. It's just a key that didn't fit.
That is so liberating, because I think we attach our identity to the outcome. If the key doesn't fit, I am broken.
And that is the industrial mindset creeping back in. The industrial mindset says if the part doesn't fit, you made a mistake, you are defective. The creative mindset says if the part doesn't fit, you learned something. You are simply one step closer to the solution.
Okay, I want to pivot, because this is where Seth starts throwing punches at some of our most cherished excuses. Specifically, the idea of talent. We love to hide behind talent.
Oh, he really goes after this one, and it triggers people.
He draws a hard line between talent and skill. How does he differentiate them?
He defines talent as something genetic or innate. It's rare. Maybe you're born with perfect pitch, or you're born with a swimmer's wingspan, or you're born with a mathematical brain. That's talent. It's a gift.
And skill.
Skill is earned. Skill is available to anyone who is willing to put in the work. Skill is the result of practice.
And his argument is that we use lack of talent as a place to hide. I wasn't born with it, so I can't do it.
Well, precisely. It's the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card. If we say, I could never do what that person does, they're just so talented, we are letting ourselves off the hook. We're saying, since I wasn't born with a magic gift, I don't even have to try. I don't have to practice.
It's a defense mechanism against the hard work of acquiring skill.
Completely.
He uses the Steve Martin example, which I love, because Steve Martin is a comedic genius. You assume he just came out of the womb telling jokes and playing the banjo.
Right. We see the finished product, the sold-out stadiums, the movies, the incredible career. But Steve Martin himself wrote a memoir called Born Standing Up, and in it he says, I had no talent. None.
None. That's hard to believe.
None. He didn't have a natural sense of timing. He wasn't naturally funny in conversation. He says he spent years playing to literally empty rooms. He spent years analyzing jokes like they were math equations.
He built the skill.
He learned the banjo note by note until his fingers bled. He earned the skill. Godin actually says it's insulting to call a professional talented.
Insulting? That's interesting. Usually we think it's the highest compliment.
It feels like a compliment, but it dismisses the agency of the artist. It dismisses the choices they made, the sacrifices.
It's like looking at a surgeon who just performed a life-saving heart operation and saying, wow, you're so talented.
Exactly. No, they studied for 12 years. They practiced suturing on grapes. They earned it. Calling it talent erases the work. It makes it seem like it was easy for them, which is never the case.
So if talent is a myth we use to hide, what about the ultimate creative excuse? Writer's block.
This is perhaps the most provocative stance in the book. Seth Godin says, there is no such thing as writer's block.
I can hear the writers listening to this, screaming at their speakers right now. It's real! I've felt it! I've stared at the page for hours!
He knows we feel the symptom. Of course he does. But he argues that what we call block is actually something else entirely.
What then?
He compares it to other jobs to show how ridiculous it is. A plumber doesn't get plumber's block.
Sorry, ma'am, I can't fix your toilet today. The muse just isn't speaking to me. I'm not feeling the flow.
Exactly. A lifeguard doesn't get lifeguard's block. They don't watch a drowning kid and say, I don't feel inspired to swim right now. So why do we accept it for creativity?
Because we think creativity is special. We think it requires a mood, a special feeling.
We romanticize it. But Godin says the root cause isn't that we can't write. It's that we are afraid of writing badly. We are paralyzed because we want to guarantee that what we write will be perfect before we even put it on the page. We are editing before we are writing.
So the block is actually just perfectionism in a trench coat.
It is. It's the fear of bad work. His solution is simple, though not easy. Write poorly.
Write poorly.
Actively try to write bad stuff. If you can't write a good paragraph, write a bad one. Write the worst paragraph you can imagine.
Because you can edit a bad paragraph.
But you can't edit a blank page. Bad ideas are the path to good ideas. The block is just your ego refusing to let you be messy.
This connects to the idea of flow, too. I'm definitely guilty of this. Waiting for the vibe to be right. The lighting, the coffee, the mood. I'm waiting to enter a flow state before I start working.
And Godin reverses that equation entirely. He says flow is a symptom of the work, not the cause.
A symptom.
You don't wait for flow to start working. You start working, and eventually flow might show up. But even if it doesn't, you still do the work.
It's back to the professional versus the amateur. The amateur waits for inspiration. The professional shows up and gets to work.
There's a great line in the book. Do the work whether you feel like it or not. Flow might show up, but you don't need it to ship.
Shipping. That word is in the subtitle of the book. Shipping creative work.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what that means, because he's not just talking about mailing a package via FedEx.
No. Shipping is Godin's term for the moment of contact. It means putting your work into the world where other people can interact with it.
So, publishing the blog post.
Hitting send on the email, presenting the slide deck, launching the product. It's the moment of truth where you say, here, I made this.
And that leads us right into section 3. Fear. Because the moment you decide to ship, the moment you decide to put yourself out there, the fear kicks in. And usually it shows up as imposter syndrome.
Yes. And I love Godin's take on this. Usually we talk about imposter syndrome as this terrible affliction we need to cure.
Right. There are a million books on how to overcome imposter syndrome.
And Seth says, imposter syndrome is real and it is helpful.
Helpful. How is feeling like a fraud helpful? That feeling makes me want to crawl under my desk.
Because of what it signals. Think about it. When do you feel like an imposter? Do you feel like an imposter when you're brushing your teeth or when you're making coffee?
No. I know how to do those things. I feel like an imposter when I'm doing something I've never done before, or when I'm in a room with people who are smarter than me.
Exactly. You feel like an imposter when you are pushing boundaries. If you are doing something that has never been done or leading in a new way, you are an imposter. There is no manual. You are making it up as you go.
So I am technically an imposter because I'm claiming I can do this thing that I haven't actually finished proving I can do yet.
Correct. And Godin says if you don't feel like an imposter, you're likely just following a recipe. You're just a hack. You're just repeating yesterday's work.
You're being a factory worker.
Right. Feeling like an imposter is proof that you are innovating. It's the sensation of leadership.
That reframing is huge. Instead of I feel like a fraud, I should stop, it becomes I feel like a fraud, I must be onto something good.
It changes the feeling from a stop sign to a mile marker. It means you're in the deep end, which is where the art happens.
He illustrates this kind of professional courage with a story about a lifeguard. This is the story of Robin Kiefer. This story really resonated with me because it highlights the difference between feeling ready and being ready. Can you walk us through that?
This is a powerful story. So visualize the scene. It's a hot summer day. Robin Kiefer is a teenager. It's her first summer working as a lifeguard.
So she's new.
Very new. She's young. She's not the strongest swimmer on the team. She's actually a bit insecure about her swimming ability compared to the veterans. And frankly, she's a bit unsure of herself in the role.
She's probably sitting in a chair thinking, I hope nothing happens today.
Exactly. But then the nightmare scenario happens. A child is drowning.
And this is the moment of truth.
It is. Now, the industrial mindset would say, do not act unless you are certain of the outcome. If she waited until she was 100% sure she could save him.
If she waited until she felt qualified or confident.
She might have hesitated. She might have looked for a better lifeguard. She might have frozen.
But she didn't.
She jumped in immediately. Not because she was sure, but because she was the lifeguard. It was her identity.
It was her job.
She was wearing the whistle. She was wearing the suit. She acted because of who she was, not because of what she knew the outcome would be.
And she saved him.
She did. And the lesson Godin draws here is, yes, you are the lifeguard. If you have an idea that solves a problem, if you have a way to make things better, you are obligated to share it.
You don't wait for certainty.
Professionals act because of their identity, not their guarantee.
That really drives home the responsibility of creativity. It's not just, I want to express myself. It's, I have something that might help, so I have a duty to offer it.
Which brings us to the internal battle. To be that lifeguard, you have to trust yourself. But Godin does this interesting linguistic thing. He separates the word. He talks about trusting yourself. 2 words.
Why the split? What's the significance of that space?
He likes to distinguish between the you that is the boss, the conscious critical mind, and the self that does the work, the subconscious, the artist, the part of you that just knows.
Okay.
He uses the boss analogy. He asks, if you had a boss who treated you the way you treat yourself, would you work for them?
Oh, man. If my boss woke me up at 3 a.m. screaming about a typo I made 3 years ago, or told me every morning that I'm a failure before I even started,
laughs,
Right.
or hovered over my shoulder screaming, "Don't mess up, don't mess up," I'd quit immediately. I'd sue for harassment.
Exactly. We are terrible bosses to ourselves. We are
Hmm.
anxious, critical, demanding of guarantees, and we create a toxic work environment in our own heads.
So the goal is to be a better boss to yourself.
Right. A good boss says, I trust you. I know this is hard. Here are the resources you need. If it fails, I've got your back. I won't blame you. I'll take the heat. Go do the work.
We need to start talking to our creative selves like that.
We need to create a safe environment internally so our self can actually perform.
That is a perfect segue into the why of all this. Why put ourselves through this stress? Why face the imposter syndrome? This brings us to section 4, generosity.
This is the heart of the book. If you take nothing else away, take this. Creativity is an act of generosity.
He boils it down to 4 words. Here, I made this. Simple but profound. Let's break it down. Here means I am presenting it to you. I'm not hiding it. I means I am taking responsibility. I'm on the hook. Made means I did the work. I didn't just think about it. This means it is specific. It exists in the world.
It changes the dynamic from look at me to this is for you.
Yes, it solves a problem for someone else. There's a beautiful story he tells about a Turkish tradition called askada ekmek. It translates to bread on the hook.
Tell us about that.
In Turkey, this is an ancient tradition. When you go to a bakery to buy bread, let's say 2 loaves, you can pay for 3. You take your 2 loaves home. The baker takes the 3rd loaf, the one you paid for but didn't take, and hangs it in a bag on a hook on the wall outside the shop or just inside.
And what happens to it?
If someone in need comes by, someone who can't afford food that day, they can ask, is there bread on the hook? And if there is, they take it. No money changes hands, no shame. It's just there.
I love that. It's anonymous connection.
It's anonymous generosity. And Godin says creative work is like that. When you write a book or design a product or launch a podcast, you are putting yourself on the hook.
You're leaving something for the next person.
You are creating something that might solve a hunger for someone else. You are feeding people you might never meet. It creates community. It solves a problem.
But, and this is a big but that I think people struggle with, he also says, it's not for you.
This is the hard math of generosity. You cannot be generous to everyone. If you try to make something that pleases everyone, you end up making something mediocre. You end up with the average.
He compares Gilligan's Island to The Sopranos.
Right. Gilligan's Island was designed for everyone. It was broad comedy, mass appeal. It's fine, but it's not changing anyone's life. It's background noise. The Sopranos was specific.
Oh, yeah.
It was dark, complex, challenging. It had an anti-hero. A lot of people hated it.
A lot of people still hate the ending.
Exactly. But for the people it was for, it was transformative. It changed television. It created a cult following. Godin says you have to be willing to say, this is not for you to the people who don't get it, so that you can serve the people who do.
If you try to serve everyone, you serve no one.
You end up with they.
I want to skip ahead to a story in the book that I think perfectly illustrates this tension between perfect and art. It's the story of Pythagoras.
The triangle guy.
The triangle guy. But before he was the triangle guy, he was a music theory guy. The legend goes that Pythagoras was walking down a street in ancient Greece, and he passes a blacksmith shop. And he hears this sound clang, clang, clang of hammers hitting anvils.
And being a mathematician, he notices something weird. The sound isn't noise. It's harmonious. It sounds like music.
Right. So he runs into the shop, probably annoying the blacksmiths, and he starts grabbing their hammers. He wants to weigh them. He wants to know why they sound good together.
And this is where he makes a massive discovery. He realizes that the hammers that sounded good together had a specific mathematical relationship. One hammer weighed exactly half of the other, a 2.1 ratio. Another was a 3.2 ratio. He discovered that harmony is math.
Which is a triumph for the industrial mindset. It's a recipe. If you have the right ratios, you get the right sound. Guaranteed.
Exactly. But there was a problem. There was a 5th hammer.
The outlier.
There was one hammer in the shop that didn't fit the ratios. It wasn't a perfect 2.1 or 3.2. When it rang out, it was discordant. It was ugly compared to the pure math of the others. It introduced a wobble.
So what did Pythagoras do?
He threw it out. He discarded the 5th hammer because it broke his perfect system. He said, this is noise. He essentially auto-tuned the blacksmith shop.
And Godin's argument is that we are all Pythagoras. We're constantly trying to fix the discord. We want to sand down the edges so everything fits the formula.
But here is the twist. If you remove the 5th hammer, you get a pure tone. It's perfect, and it is incredibly boring.
It's elevator music.
It is. Godin argues that the fifth hammer, the thing that doesn't quite fit, the grit, the wobble, that is where the humanity lives. That is where the art is.
He uses a great modern example of this,
Hmm.
Neil Young.
Yes. If you run Neil Young's voice through a computer, it's wrong. It's high, it cracks, it wavers. If Pythagoras were producing a Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young record, he would have fired Neil Young.
He would have put him on pitch correction immediately.
But without that fifth hammer quality, without that strain and vulnerability, the music loses its soul. It just becomes nice. And Godin says, don't be nice, be real. We have to stop trying to hide our fifth hammers. That imperfection isn't a bug in your work. It's the only reason anyone will care about it.
So we shouldn't try to sand off our edges to fit in. The fifth hammer is the feature, not the bug.
Exactly. The industrial system wants you to be the fourth hammer. Perfectly compliant. The world needs you to be the fifth hammer.
I want to talk about hoarding. Because sometimes we have these ideas, these fifth hammers, and we keep them to ourselves. We think, if I share this idea, I'll run out. Or someone will steal it.
Or I need to wait until I have more resources.
Yes, that's a big one.
That is the scarcity mindset. It's toxic.
Mm.
Godin argues for an abundance mindset. Creativity isn't like a gold mine where once you dig it up, it's gone. It's like a candle.
How so?
Lighting someone else's candle doesn't dim yours. In fact, it makes the room brighter. The more you give away, the more ideas come back to you.
He tells the story of Kennedy O'Day in Kibera, Kenya. This is an incredible example of abundance in a place of literal scarcity.
Truly inspiring. Kennedy O'Day lived in Kibera, one of the largest slums in Africa. We are talking about extreme poverty. No sanitation, no clean water, violence, despair. He had literally nothing.
Nothing.
Except a soccer ball and 20 cents.
Most people would say, I can't do anything. I need funding. I need a grant. I need the UN to come in.
Right. And he could have waited forever. But Kennedy had the creative mindset. He didn't wait for enough. He bought a soccer ball. He started a game. That game became a team. That team became a community.
And it grew.
It exploded. That community became a movement called SO, Shining Hope for Communities. It now provides clean water, schools for girls, and health care to hundreds of thousands of people.
He shipped. He put the ball on the field.
He didn't hoard his energy. He didn't say, I'll wait until I can build a stadium.
Yeah.
He started with a ball. Hoarding your voice denies the world your contribution.
That's a powerful way to put it.
If you have an idea that can help and you sit on it because you're afraid or you're waiting for the perfect time, you are actively withholding generosity. You are keeping the bread off the hook.
That's heavy realization. Silence isn't just neutral. It's a choice to withhold.
It is.
Okay, let's move to section 5. We've talked about the philosophy, but how do we categorize the work we do? Godin breaks it down into a matrix: the hack, the amateur, and the professional. This helped me figure out where I stand.
This is a really useful framework for self-diagnosis. Let's start with the hack.
The hack. It sounds bad.
It's not necessarily evil, but it's soulless. The hack is someone who reverse engineers what the audience wants just to get paid. They have no point of view. They ask, what do you need? I'll do it cheap. I'll do it fast.
This is the content farm approach.
Yeah.
Clickbait works. I'll write clickbait. Romance novels with vampires are selling. I'll write a vampire novel.
Exactly. It's about transactions. It's, I will do X to get money. There is no generosity, just commerce.
Okay, what about the amateur?
The amateur creates for themselves. They do it for the love of it. They paint in their garage. They write poems. They never show anyone.
And Seth says this is fine, right? There's nothing wrong with being an amateur.
Absolutely. Being an amateur is a beautiful thing. Amateur comes from the Latin amare, to love, but, and this is the key, it is not the practice, it's a hobby.
Because you don't have to ship.
You don't have to ship. You don't have to face the fear of rejection or misunderstanding.
So what is the professional in?
The professional is the third category. The professional shows up with intent. They have a point of view. They serve the audience, but, and this is the distinction from the hack, they lead the audience somewhere new.
They aren't just taking orders.
No. They are saying, I see where you are, and I think we should go over here, trust me. They are willing to make the audience uncomfortable in service of a better outcome.
He gives a great example of a professional in action. Patricia Barber at the Green Mill.
The Green Mill is this legendary dive bar in Chicago. It's old school. Al Capone used to hang out there. Monday nights are slow. But Patricia Barber is a world-class jazz musician.
She could play big concert halls. She could be touring Europe.
She could, but she plays this small bar on Mondays.
Why?
Because it's her laboratory. She isn't playing requests. She isn't trying to play Fly Me to the Moon so the tourists are happy. That would be a hack. She is practicing her art in public for the right people. It is her living room. She is enrolled in a journey with her audience. The audience knows that if they come on Monday, they are going to hear something new, something challenging. That is professionalism, doing the work for the sake of the work and the specific people who get it.
I love that. But I can hear listeners thinking, okay, that's great for a jazz musician in a cool bar, but I'm a receptionist or a middle manager, or I work in IT. How can I be a professional in this sense?
Well, Godin addresses this directly with the example of the receptionist.
Let's hear it.
So imagine a receptionist at a busy office. You can be a hack receptionist. You just guard the door. You sit there. You process visitors, name, sit down, someone will be with you. You do the minimum compliance.
And that's what most people do. It's the job description.
Right. But you can choose to act like the VP of reception.
VP of reception. I like that title.
What does that person do? They don't just process people. They realize that the person walking in might be nervous or lost or important. Maybe they bake cookies because they know people are coming in stressed.
Maybe they memorize the names of the regular delivery drivers.
Maybe they curate the waiting room magazines so they aren't 3 years old. They ask, what is this interaction for?
What is it for? That's a key question.
Is it for security? Or is it to make the visitor feel welcomed and prepared? If you decide your job is to create a feeling of belonging for anyone walking through that door, you have just turned a normal job into art. You are leading. You are creating emotional change.
It really democratizes the whole concept. You don't need a beret and a paintbrush. You just need intent.
Intent and generosity, if you bring those to your meeting, your email, or your reception desk, you are practicing.
Okay, we're heading into the final stretch here, Section 6. We want to leave our listeners with some actionable frameworks, things they can visualize when they get stuck. And the first one is juggling.
This is Godin's favorite teaching method. He's taught tons of people to juggle, and he says the reason most people can't juggle is that they are obsessed with the wrong part of the equation.
They're obsessed with the catch.
Right. You throw the ball up, and immediately your brain panics. I must catch this. If I don't catch this, I fail. It hits the floor. So you lunge for the ball. You dive for it. You look uncoordinated and frantic. You are chasing the ball.
You're chasing the result.
Exactly. But juggling isn't about catching. Juggling is about throwing. Godin teaches that if you focus 100% of your energy on throwing the ball to the exact right spot in the air, the apex, the ball will fall into your hand automatically.
You don't even have to look at your hand.
Gravity does the rest.
The catch takes care of itself.
It does. In our work, the throw is the practice. It's writing the blog post. It's refining the code. It's making the sales call. The catch is the sale. The catch is the viral article. The catch is the promotion. You cannot make the catch happen. You can only make the throw better.
I think that's so hard for us because the drop feels like death. If I write this book and nobody reads it, that's a drop.
And the professional juggler drops the ball all the time, but they don't scream, I am a failure. They just pick it up and throw it again. The drop is just gravity. It's not a moral judgment. If you obsess over the catch, you will never learn to throw well.
Focus on the throw. I love that. The next one is a meme that I'm sure many people have seen online. How to draw an owl.
I love this one. It's a classic internet joke. It's a tutorial. Step 1, draw 2 circles.
Step 2, draw the rest of the owl.
It's hilarious because it skips the entire hard part. It goes from basic geometry to a photorealistic bird in one step.
It highlights our obsession with instructions. We want a manual that bridges the gap between the circles and the owl.
Godin points out that we are constantly looking for a tutorial that bridges that gap. We want a manual that says, here's how you get from the circles to the finished owl without any risk of making a mess. We want the paint by numbers kit for life.
But painting by numbers isn't art. It's compliance.
Exactly. The reason there is no instruction manual for step 2 is that you have to invent it. The drawing the rest of the owl part is the work. That messy, uncertain middle ground where you don't know if it's going to look like an owl or a blob, that is where the art happens.
So if there was a manual, it would just be industrial work again.
It would be a factory for owls. If
Yeah.
someone could tell you exactly how to do it, it wouldn't be worth doing.
So when we feel lost in that middle stage, when we have 2 circles and a mess of lines and it looks nothing like an owl, that's not a sign we're feeling. That's just the job.
That is the job. That is the practice. You have to be willing to draw the rest of the owl yourself.
Another great framework is the discard pile.
Yes.
This comes from the cartoonist Drew Dernovich.
Yes. He draws for The New Yorker, which is arguably the hardest gig in cartooning. And if you look at his desk, you see a small pile of cartoons that got published, maybe a few dozen. And then you see a massive teetering stack of cartoons that got rejected. Hundreds, thousands.
The discard pile.
The lesson is, you don't need better ideas, you need more bad ideas. The person with the biggest discard pile usually wins, because to get to the good stuff, you have to flesh out the bad stuff. You have to empty the pipe.
It goes back to there is no writer's block. Just fill the discard pile.
Precisely. If you are willing to have a huge discard pile,
Okay.
if you are willing to be wrong 90% of the time, you become unstoppable. The amateur tries to get it right the first time. The professional knows the first time is just for the discard pile.
Finally, let's talk about practical empathy. We touched on this with the "it's not for you" concept, but he gives a really specific example about a billionaire and a university building.
This is about realizing that people do not want what you want, and that is hard to accept. So imagine you are fundraising for a university. You're asking a billionaire for $2 million to name a building.
And my first thought is, that's insane. If I had $2 million, I wouldn't spend it on a plaque. I'd buy a house or travel or invest it.
Right. You are projecting your worldview, your scarcity onto them. But the billionaire already has the houses, the cars, the travel. They have exhausted the things money can buy for pleasure. What they might lack is legacy, status, immortality. For them, $2 million to have their name carved in stone for 100 years might be a bargain. It solves a problem they have. Practical empathy is stepping out of your own shoes and realizing that what looks like a waste to you might be vital to someone else.
And that is how you connect. That is how you ship work that matters. You see the other person's narrative, and you help them get where they want to go. You don't judge their narrative. You serve it.
Exactly.
We've covered so much ground today, from the myth of magic to the necessity of bad ideas to the math of Pythagoras. If we had to boil this down for the listener who is about to walk into work or sit down at their desk, what are the key takeaways?
I'd say 4 things. First, creativity is an action, not a feeling. Do not wait for the muse. The lightning bolt isn't coming.
Okay, when?
Second, ship generous work. Put yourself on the hook. Be the lifeguard. Third, trust the process, not the outcome. The locksmith doesn't cry when the key doesn't fit. Be the locksmith.
And last one.
And fourth, seek someone, not everyone. Be the 5th hammer. Find your believers and serve them.
I want to end with a final thought from the book that I think sums up the spirit of the practice. It's the concept of chop wood, carry water.
It's an ancient Zen idea. The student asks the master, "What did you do before enlightenment?" The master says, "Chop wood, carry water."
And then the student asks, "What do you do now that you are enlightened?"
And the master says, "Chop wood, carry water."
The work doesn't change. The reward isn't that you stop working. You don't make it and then retire to a beach to never create again. The reward is the work itself.
That's it. If you love the practice, if you love the throwing of the juggling ball, you've already won. The outcome is just a bonus.
So here is the question we want to leave you with today. It's a provocative one. If you knew you were sure to fail, if you knew the outcome wouldn't be what you hoped, if you knew the critics would shrug, but the journey itself would be worth it, what would you do?
What is worth doing simply because it's worth doing?
Answer that and then go start. Go make a ruckus. Go ship something. Say, "Here, I made this. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive."
Go draw the rest of the owl.
See you next time.